Okay, welcome back. Week 4, Part 2, Friday and Saturday, match predictions. I definitely didn't just have to redo this. Definitely didn't just happen. Alright, Friday, first match, Shock Mayhem. They're going to be playing on Numani, Temple of Anubis, Ilios, and then Junkertown. Two of the bottom feeders, in terms of teams, they're in 9th and 11th places. Mayhem 11th, Shock 9th. As of right now, I think the Shock definitely hold the edge in this one, but the maps wise, it's a lot of the ones that aren't as great for the Shock. I think the Mayhem are actually going to take a couple maps in this series, including Temple of Anubis. The good news for the Shock is they don't have to play on Horizon Lunar Colony, which is probably their worst map, or at least one of their worst maps. But long story short, in this one, I got the Shock winning 3-2. I think they're a little bit better overall. I'd say the main edge that the Mayhem would probably hold is that they have a better Mercy play, I would say. Other than that, I like the Shock. I think that Baby Bay as a Widowmaker is going to be really effective on Temple of Anubis, because I don't think Logix and Tavik are on his level, Widowmaker-wise. So, I give the edge to the Shock. I'd say they'll win it in 5. Hopefully we have more close games than yesterday when it was a lot of 4-0s. But anyway, we got match number 2, the Dynasty against the Outlaws. So this is a really interesting one because two of the better teams in the league here. Right now they're in 3rd and 4th. And this is the 4th week of Stage 1. Then there's going to be one more week next week. The schedule will be the same. Like everyone plays over 4 days. They play 2 matches. And then the top 3 teams at the end of Stage 1 have like a little mini playoff. I believe the second and the third teams play each other, and then the winner plays the number 1 team. I believe that's how it goes. And then like they get I think it's like 125 grand is like the prize for winning that. But that won't count to like the mini playoffs won't count for the like end of the year playoffs. They're just like they're a bonus to say like, oh, this is the best team in Stage 1 and a chance for teams to make some bonus money. So this is a big matchup. They're both 5 and 2. I'd say the loser is in trouble of not making the little playoff. Right now the Dynasty are 3rd and the Outlaws are 4th. So this one I'm very excited for. We got Eichenwald, game 1, Horizon Lunar Colony for 2, Ilios for 3, and then back to Junkertown for game 4. So the Dynasty are coming off getting 4-0'd. I don't know if some of their players like couldn't play. They had a couple backups in, it seemed. Like Bunny they had in, who's their backup tracer. I thought it was kind of strange to see him in, especially against a team as good as the Spitfire. So maybe there was like an illness there or something like that. But I was really tempted to pick the Outlaws coming into this. But after yesterday, I think the Dynasty are going to respond after getting 0-4'd. I think they're not going to take that laying down. So I think they're going to come out strong. They're going to take game 1. 2, I like the Outlaws on Horizon Lunar Colony. Their defense is super good on that map. I think they could definitely full hold the Dynasty on that one. Then game 3, Dynasty, I like them on this one. I think if the Outlaws manage to take 2 and 3, which is doable considering the maps that they're playing on, I think they got a real shot at this one. But I think the Dynasty are going to edge them in game 3 and then take game 4 for a 3-1 win. Wouldn't be shocked though if the Outlaws won. They were missing one of their players one of their best players, probably their best player in Linkser, their Widow and Tracer and a couple other DPS heroes, McCree, stuff like that. They missed him last week. They still won, or 2 days ago. They still won against the Shock, but the Dynasty are a much better team than the Shock. So they're gonna want to have him back. I think they said he was ill, so hopefully he can play. And this one will be very close, down to the wire. But I got the Dynasty. I don't think they'll lose a third match in a row. And I think they'll take this one 3-2-1. And final match of today, the Gladiators against the Uprising. So two, I'd say, pretty evenly matched teams here. You get the 3-4 Gladiators and the 3-3 Uprising. The Uprising still have they could make the stage 1 playoff. They'd have to win out. They'd have to win against the Gladiators. They play tomorrow. They'd have to win that, and then they'd have to win both of their matches the next week as well. That would finish them at 7-3, and then they would have a chance. I don't see that happening though. I don't think they're going to win all their games. I think they'll win a couple of the matches, but not all of them. So this one, I'm excited for this match. It should be really back and forth. They're going to be playing on Numbani, Temple of Anubis, Oasis map is, and like if the name isn't up there, it always takes me like a second and a half to get it. But anyway, and then the fourth one will be Dorado. So I'd say map-wise, Boston has a slight edge. The Gladiators have been absolutely pitiful at attacking on Temple of Anubis this season. And so that's a huge chance for the Uprising to win that one. The Uprising have been pretty good on King of the Hills as well, even though the Gladiators... That's been probably the best game mode for the Gladiators as well. So, Gladiators Uprising, that one could be a throw. Toss a coin in the air and see who wins. The Gladiators, they've had their moments on Numbani. They've also had their bad moments. Like they got kind of steamrolled by the Outlaws last week on defense after having a pretty good attack. But the Uprising aren't on the level of the Outlaws. So as team-wise, I give the Gladiators an edge here. The Uprising probably have the best player in the matchup in Dream Casper. He might be the best overall player between both teams. He's been insanely good. Their other DPS player, Striker, who's pretty much, you always see him on Tracer. I haven't really seen him on much else. He's been very good as well. Overall, though, I like the Gladiators as a team a bit more. I think that they're going to be able to... the Uprising are finally a team where the Gladiators have a better Widowmaker. I think that Surefour and Asher are a better Widow than Casper or Striker. So that could make the difference on Temple of Anubis. Maybe they can actually finally get first point on it because of that. But as a Gladiators fan, this is a scary matchup for me. It's a matchup that I know we can win, but it's one that I know we can also lose just as easily. So in game 1, I like the Gladiators. I've liked their strategy on Numbani. I don't think the Uprising are going to be able to just keep steamrolling like the Outlaws did. I think the Gladiators will be able to stop them for a push and start to get some ult economy going and really just have a good defense. In game 2, I'm really interested to see this one because I want to see if the Gladiators have come up with any better strategies for attacking this map. But I have to give this one to the Uprising because just from what I've seen in the past, it's just such a weak map for the Gladiators. Then game 3, I like the Gladiators. I like them a lot on these type of maps. Oasis is a good Pharah map, and we have two very good Pharahs in Hydration and Surefour. Although the Uprising, Dreamcasper plays a pretty mean Pharah as well, so that'll be an interesting battle to watch for sure. But I do like the Gladiators in that one a little more. I think our tank combo is a bit more familiar with each other, and hopefully they'll be able to play very well on that one and not die early on. And then game 4, Dorado. So the Gladiators have looked pretty darn good on this map for defense at times, but they've also been full held on it, I think twice at least. So this is a map that's kind of worrisome for me. I think the Uprising will take this one. Unfortunately, I think they'll force a game 5, and maybe because I'm biased, I'm going to say the Gladiators win game 5. Take the series overall 3-2 on Lijiang. The Gladiators are 1-1 in game 5s. They beat the Fusion in 5, but they lost at the Valiant in 5. And the Uprising beat the Fuel on Lijiang for a 5th. I think that's the only. No, I think they beat this. Yeah, they beat the Spitfire on Lijiang too. So they're pretty scary on Lijiang. I'd say they're 2-0, beating a couple of good teams. Um, so yeah, that's it's gonna be interesting. For that's the least I can say about that matchup. But in the end, Homer here. I'm gonna say Gladiators 3-2. They go to 4-4, and hopefully can get back to that 500 mark. So tomorrow, talked about that matchup too much. Tomorrow we got the Shanghai Dragons versus the London Spitfire. Oh boy, I feel bad for the Dragons. I feel like they've just been playing good team after good team. Um, they were just coming off playing the Dynasty recently, then they had to play the Excelsior, um, and now the Spitfire, a team that seems very hot. They're 6-1. They just swept. A lot of people thought, or a lot of people still think, the front runner for Overwatch League, and this one, it's not really going to be close. I see the Spitfire 4-0ing this one. Not a whole lot to talk about here. The good news for Shanghai fans, though, is that I talked about it a little bit last time. The signing period is up, so they can make some moves. And honestly, Undead, one of their DPS players, has been doing very well recently. He's one of the guys that he came out the first week and it was terrible. It was pretty hard to watch, but he's improved every week, and he was putting in work on McCree. So I think there's been the Dragons. It's funny because they're 0-7, but they've probably improved the most out of any team in the league, which is kind of ironic because their first few matches they looked like a bunch of like a random team of all solo queuers and competitive getting thrown in there with these teams, but now they look a lot better. They look like a real team. They've been competing, but unfortunately they're going to go to 0-8. I don't think they're going to take a map. I could see him taking like Junkertown for the fourth one, but this is definitely a win for the Spitfire in this match. And next we got the Dallas Fuel playing the New York Excelsior. 1-6 versus 6-1. Fuel are another team, a little bit like Shanghai. It's like, man, they can't catch a break. They just feel like every match they played against a really good team. The only time I remember saying, "Oh yeah, they beat the Shock 3-0." So unfortunately for the Fuel here, I can't see him beating the Excelsior. I really can't. For that matter, it might honestly be a 4-0. Wouldn't be surprised at all if that happened. They're playing on Numbani, Temple of Anubis, Oasis, and Dorado. Yeah, I guess the good news for the Fuel is they've played well on Temple, attack-wise at least. They had their very close match against the Dynasty earlier in the season, and they're not playing on Ilios, which they don't like as a map. The Fuel have said that they're not very strong on that map at all. So that's the good news. They have a couple maps that they like coming up, but I don't think it's going to matter at all. The Excelsior just really, really, really good as a team. I still have them as the second best team in the whole league, and I'd say pretty much everyone has them in their top three. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't have the Excelsior in their top three of teams. So this one, I gotta say it's a 4-0. For the Fuel here, it's just about trying to improve, trying to tighten up their comms, just getting some practice in, maybe trying out a couple other strategies. That's kind of what they were doing in their last match. They had effect on the Doomfist quite a lot. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue with that or if they try a different strategy, like have them on a different hero to try out. Because they're a team that likes to try out a bunch of different comps, which is partially why they have such a big fan base. But yeah, sorry, it's going to be 1-7 for them. Not much hope there against the Excelsior, who are gearing up for the Stage 1 playoff. And then the last game of Saturday, it's the Uprising back at it again against the Valiant. So on paper, this is a Valiant win. the Uprising, they're the only team that's playing today and tomorrow. So a little bit of a disadvantage there. I don't think it's going to be huge, though, because they're the last match today and they're the last match tomorrow. So they should be able to recover and everything. But we got Eichenwald, Horizon Lunar Colony, Oasis, and then Junkertown. So like I said, the Valiant, they're better on paper. They got a better record. They're 5-2. The Uprising will be either 4-3 or 3-4, depending on how the match against the Gladiators goes today. The Valiant are another team. I think they're, map-wise, they're 5th right now overall in the standings, because there's a bunch of teams that are tied up. There's like 3 teams or 4 teams tied at 5-2. And I think they're tied with the Outlaws and the Dynasty. And the Valiant have the least amount of map wins out of the 3. So they're losing that tiebreaker right now. If they want to get into this Stage 1 playoff, they got to win this one. You can't lose this game against the Uprising. And I don't think they will. They've had a lot of time to recover, or they've had a lot of time to prepare, I should say. They didn't even really need to recover from their series. They played the... I want to say the Mayhem, but it wasn't the Mayhem. I don't remember who they played earlier, but I know that they won. Oh, that's right. They played the Fusion. I thought it'd be a close match. A lot of people thought it'd be a close match, but the Valiant 4-0'd them pretty freaking easily. Honestly, I was pretty surprised. If they play like that again, the Uprising have little chance. I do think the Uprising will take a map, maybe 3. I'd say either map 2 or 3 would be their best chance to grab one early on. And then I think Junkertown is a map that a lot of the teams that are a bit lower on like the talent scale or like just like in the standings, I think that's a map where they definitely have a chance to win against teams that are considered better than them. But so if the Uprising can snag 2 or 3 and then maybe pull it off on Junkertown, the Valiant have looked pretty good on Junkertown though. But if they can get it to a game 5, I mean, they've won both of their matches on Lijiang, so anything's possible. But I think the Valiant will take this one 3-1. They're just really, really good. You can make an argument for Soon being one of the best tracers in the entire league. Unko is a very, very good support player. Solid on the Mercy. Zen is definitely his best hero, though. He's really, really good on the Zen. When you have Agility, he's one of the best Genjis. When you have Silk Thread, a very, very good DPS player coming off the bench. You got Fate. You got Kariv. They're just a very, very good team, and I see them winning this one 3-1. All right. Quick recap. Got the Shock beating the Mayhem, the Dynasty over the Outlaws, the Gladiators beating the Uprising. Then day 2, the Valiant beating the Uprising, the Spitfire beating the Dragons, and the Excelsior beating the Fuel. Alright, and then for the first part of next week, I'll do the regular 2 days, and then I'll say what my overall record is, maybe say predictions for who's going to make the Stage 1 mini playoff, and then in the second one, after the second week, because that's after the second part of next week, then that's when they'll have the teams. So when the teams get finalized, then I'll predict who I think is going to win those matchups and take the Stage 1 victory. But until then, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.